Uh, Start to GPRL, round 13 of season 5. If you join us, Marcos just crosses the line. Goes quickest. First my voice. So yeah, welcome back. Unfortunately missed you last time. After I was away last weekend. Nevertheless, welcome back, and Marcos has just pipped the winner of the last two races. Dylan, 2 pole, and it looks like he is going to claim pole unless Hans, who is coming into the final corner, can do anything about that. He's about a second off the next time up. So he goes through the final corner, over the bump and to the line. He can't improve on his position, so yeah, welcome guys. And yeah, Marcos just beating Dylan, who's won 2 of the last 2 races here in GPRL. A little qualifying rundown for you. Marcos just a 10th quicker than Dylan. Then it was the 2 Alfa Romeos championship leader Felix just ahead of Moran, who needs to close the gap today. It would be ideal, especially with Marcos being in pole position. Yannick, the reserve in Toro Rosso, doing a good job up in P5. Then Tim, the first and only Mercedes today. Rico and the McLaren with a good showing. Then it's the 2 Red Bulls toying ahead of Mike. Karen rounding out the top 10. Luke was only P11, so really struggling for pace today was Luke. So yeah, we'll see what he can do in the race. He will get a fresh choice of tyres. However, it is wet. As you can see, raining here in Japan. Dylan says he only got one run in qualifying due to his internet. Luke saying in the chat he went for a wet setup, so he might have an advantage as we go into the race today. But it looks like intermediate conditions, as we seemingly have all the drivers on intermediate tyres. Here we go. So yes, all 13 drivers today on the intermediate tyre. The first of the wet compound, the lighter tread of the wet compound of tyre. If the rain picks up, puddles start to form, the drivers will switch on to as Dylan dropping back. If the rain picks up, puddles start to form, the drivers will be going onto the wet tyres. We don't actually have a weather forecast available to us, haven't had any sent in the GPRL chat, so we'll have to play it by ear. All we know is it is wet, and currently looking at the skies, doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. So, who could we have our eyes on for the start? Be interested for the Alfa Romeo battle down into turn number 1. Who can get ahead? What will Dylan, who is holding back on this formation lap to say the least? I'm not entirely sure why. He's just coasting around. Welcome everyone on the stream. Hope you're having a good day. We should be having Yano join us dry at the end, so thank you to Dylan, who comes in and says we'll be drying up towards the end. So talk about which of these drivers, if they want to try and extend it, will they be able to make a 0 stop work before the dry period, or will they have to stop again and then, you know, take an advantage of dry tyres? Of not dry tyres, sorry, of fresher tyres later on. Should be quite an interesting race. If we have a brief look at the championship standings just before we start this race. It is Felix in the lead from Marine, who's only just ahead of Marcos. So it's all to play for at the top, as I can't actually find the championship standings. But yeah, it's all very close, and one mistake from any of the top three in the championship could be the difference between glory. Could be the difference between hero and zero. There's Marcos on the grid, little onboard shot. So we are now ready. Should be ready. Go to 5 red lights in this damp day in Japan. 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go. First impressions looked as if Dylan got a good start. He did get a good start, indeed too good, as he jumped the start now. There's a bit of contact between the two drivers that go into turn number 1. Dylan with a jump start, that's going to drop him back. And with a drive-through penalty, that's like a 20-second time penalty he has to serve within the next 3 laps. Further back, looks like everyone is keeping it pretty clean as we go up through the S's. Felix stays ahead of his teammate. Further back there's a little bit more contact. It looks like Yannick off, and possibly with a little bit of damage to his front wing as he's squeezing the Red Bull up through this next part, as Dylan is now out of the session, so it's gone from bad to worse for Dylan today in Suzuka. As yeah, we got all the cars squirming up through turn 1 into the first of the 2 right-handers. You can see Dylan pulling off there. Not entirely sure what the problem is. It could be internet connection as we now go into the hairpin for the first time. That's a very deep on the brakes by Rico. I doubt that was intentional. He seems to have a good run on the Mercedes of Tim now. Got a bit out of shape there as he went into Spoon Curve. Dylan now asking for an invite. I'm not entirely sure I can do that for you. It's through 130R. See Marine further up, going slightly deep. He's dropped a lot of time already to his teammate. He's got damage to the front left element of his front wing. That's going to be affecting him massively. As further up Felix is close, he's ridiculously close to Marcos, or so it says he is on the timings. Slightly bigger than that in real life, but yeah, you can see Marine understeering with that front wing damage he must have picked up at the start. And that explains the gap between himself and his teammate. And Tim now pressurising him. This is not good news for Marine's championship fight. Currently 13 points behind. 14 points, sorry. Behind the next driver up. We've got a yellow flag. That looks to be a Red Bull round onto the grass. It is. It's Toyin. Unfortunately, it looks like he's dropped out of the points. But yeah, this is going to be an important race. Marcos can win and claw back some points on the championship leader Felix. Marcos currently trails Felix by 23 points in the driver standings. It's quite a gap with just 5 races to go in GPRL Season 5 after this one. Still all to play for. Marine doing a good job to hold on with this front wing damage. Still trying to get Dylan back into the session. Meanwhile, slightly wide there from Tim. That could, yeah, there goes Dylan into the session. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. He did stop, I saw, so he brought himself in. Marcos sets a fast lap of the Grand Prix as he pulls away from Felix. Marine a bit squirmy on the power. Yeah, Dylan's going to have to see what he can do from the position that he's in, but currently, in terms of the driver standings, he's done a bloody good job. He's competed in just 2 races this season, won them both, and scored an extra point for either pole or fastest lap. He currently sits in 10th in the standings, just 5 points off Rico ahead. Rico, currently up in P5, doing a really good job, Rico, and I believe he's on for his best finish since China, where he took pole and the win. And the fastest lap, so he got the full 17 points, and I believe only one other driver has done that this season, indeed, and that was Marcos back at round 3. So that's quite an accolade for Rico. So we have Tim still pressurising the Alfa Romeo. Saw Morai get a bit of a swapper on then as he exited the hairpin. Whilst these guys are battling, it's bringing Luke into it. Remember, Luke running a wet setup from qualifying, qualified quite far down, but now all he's just repping the benefits. And if he has a full wet setup, he's got to use it now before it dries up. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. How much has he compromised in qualifying in order to be fast in this stage of the race? It's a big off track for Morai as we enter the final chicane. Morai for the 3rd lap in a row goes wide. It's very easy to do down there, to just outbrake yourself. And this should present Tim with a very good opportunity to move up into a podium position. He's in the slipstream. Morai's going to defend the inside line. Position stay as they are for now. Meanwhile, Luke slightly further back, pressurising Rico for P5. Rico a little bit offline. That's going to present Luke with an opportunity around the outside of the S's. This will be a fantastic move if he can hold it through. Indeed he does. Luke sweeps around the outside. Awesome job by the Renault driver. He's up into P5 and now can push on for a podium position. Great driving from the Renault driver. And he made light work of Rico there. As Tim still struggling to get past Morai. See, Tim has got so much more confidence throwing the car into Spoon Curve, but can't really do anything with it because the Alfa Romeo just ahead is confident enough on the power, which is giving them good exits, as you can see now, blasting down the straight. It's not close enough. Morai again goes deep. That's for the 4th lap in a row. Makes a bit of contact with the front wing there, Tim. And has pushed Luke right up to them. So we might have a possible 3-wide moment here. However, Tim looking to make his move now. He'll have to go round the outside of turn number 1. This will be an impressive move. If he can make it work round the outside, goes Tim. That's an impressive move up into a podium place now. And he's going to look to put the gas down and get past. I was going to say outside the 1 second mark. No DRS activated this race because, or at least until it dries up. Yeah, good move from Tim. He's showing good pace. He's got to try and open it up a gap to Morai before Luke can get past him. You see Morai, big slide there as he comes out the exit of turn number 7, I believe. So Morai is really struggling now. However, I don't think it would be beneficial for him to pit because he'd come out in just a gaggle of traffic. And at this rate, I think he actually would be behind Dylan, so there really is little point. You may as well just hold it in till the dry period. Just a little update. Oh, Hans is out the session. He's crashed coming out of the second right-hander just before the bridge. And that may bring out a VSC as Marcos. He's got nearly 6-second advantage, so he's sitting pretty. Here's Marcos. Looks like a double wave yellow in sector 2 whilst they clear Hans's car. Nothing more than that. Slightly deep on the brakes for Luke. Really pushing the limits. A little update on the standings. As we've got Mike and Zeph going at it. There's contact. Some form of contact there is Zeph. And both cars are actually across the chicane. Zeph going to come into the pits. So does Mike. So we'll have to see what happened there. Dylan now is out the session. And Dylan's crashed. That could be quite a big accident after 130R. Looks like he'd gone off on the exit. I'm sure we'll hear from him in just a moment. But the first time he finishes, well, the first GPRL race he hasn't won. That's Dylan. So that's an interesting stat. Zeph and Mike both pit for the intermediate tyres. As further right, here comes Luke with a move. Past Marine. That looked like round the outside of the first right-hander. That's very impressive if he did indeed pull that off. And Luke now up into P4. Just over a second separates him. Ooh, that was deep from Rico. Yeah, just over a second separates Luke and Tim. So with his wet setup, Luke may be able to go on and challenge for that position. Little championship update finally. If Luke outscores Yannick by 2 points there, he will overtake him for 6th in the standings, as he's just 1 point behind Yannick. I think even if he outscores him by 1, he'll overtake him due to Luke's win in Germany, because of how countback works. It's very wide there from Luke. And Luke is also just 7 points behind Jarno in the standings, so he may be able to claim 2 positions in one race there. Big slide again from Marine. Marine really struggling today. Looks like Rico is going to take that position. Easy done, no questions asked. Down the inside and up into P5. Rico is having a solid race so far, and he carries on Marine down to P6 now. And it's almost as if his championship hope is washing away. He'll need something really significant in this race to thrust him back into any position to have a chance again on the podium, because at this rate Tim's pulling away from Luke behind as we now wait for the rain to clear up. That's a little time penalty for Luke, as normal order is resumed. Lap 7 of this race now then. Marine's got quite a comfy gap back to Karim, who's about 4.5 seconds behind him. So he shouldn't be under too much pressure at all. But I'm sure he won't be satisfied with where he is currently in this race. Just a little note. Marcos, 8 seconds clear nearly, in the lead after just 8 laps. He's on for yet another win. He's just made his pole position count 5. It's 5 pole positions, and if he wins this race, it will be his 5th win in season 5, which is more than double anyone else's tally. And it will become his 12th win in GPRL history, which is another GPRL record, which is something. Marcos smashing records left, right and centre, and he really is showing that he is a proper contender for the championship, as he's just pulling away from Felix as if it's nothing. However, as we have previously mentioned, Felix is in the driver's seat in terms of the driver standings. Zeph is close to Mike. Again, these two had a bit of contact down into the final corner, Senna Prost style maybe, and yeah, they're looking as if they might do battle. Luke now is close about a second up to Tim, so Luke really putting his foot down. Tim's closed up about 0.2 of a second to Felix ahead, so drivers may be starting to push now. So another fast lap of the Grand Prix from Marcos. Back to this battle here then. Zeph really close to Mike. exiting spoon. Hopefully there's not a repeat of what happened a matter of laps ago, where they came together. Hence why they're 15 seconds off the lead of anyone else. As Zeph into the wall, and Mike seemingly moved across very late. I'm not sure if Zeph has got front wing damage, and I think it's nothing short of a miracle if he doesn't. But it looks as if Mike defended the position very late. I think Zeph has actually escaped that one without any damage. I have no idea what went on there really, but looks like Mike moved late, and Zeph lagging around slightly was put into the wall. I'm sure he can't be too happy with that. But Zeph, if it's any consolidation to him, does look ever so slightly quicker. Meanwhile, here's Luke still pressurising Tim. Little gap start to iron out. I can imagine tyre saving will be in the back of all the drivers' minds. And I'm actually quite fascinated to see how many stops these drivers take before it dries out. If they do plan on stopping, which Marine does now, so he's not going to be stopping for a set of any other compounder tyres other than intermediate. It's a yellow flag. Zeph! Has Zeph and Mike come together again? Zeph seemingly spun round. I think I'm not sure if he's got a slight bit of damage to that front wing. But and maybe contact again with Mike. And these two are getting pretty familiar and pretty cozy with each other. As Moran now exits the pits, P9, fresh tyres. So he's got 9 lap fresher tyres than everyone else. So he should be able to push on. Talking about pushing on, here's Luke. Luke looking very strong as we mentioned earlier. That wet setup coming into play now. He's come from 11th on the grid to 4th. His rear tyres looking better nick than Tim's ahead. You can see by the exit from that hairpin. So slightly wide from both drivers actually. Tim picking up a time penalty. Luke picked up one ever so slightly earlier. We're 130 are now. About 11-second lead. Marcos is averaging about 1 second a lap to Felix behind him, which is simply incredible. There's Tim all over the place on the exit. His rear tyres are dying back there, and Luke says thank you very much. Snips past though. However, here comes Tim back from all around the outside. They're going to go wheel to wheel into turn number 1. Round the outside goes Tim. That's a really impressive move from the Mercedes driver to claim back the final position on the podium. Awesome driving between these two. As further back, looks like Yannick has been passed by Moran. I can't imagine Yannick made that too hard for Moran, as these two are in two completely different races. Yeah, what awesome bit of driving that on display from these two drivers. So they're still going at it. They're lagging around a bit there. Both drivers are really pushing each other into the hairpin. Tim struggling with the exit, really trying to park his car on the apex, and whilst there's all this battling, they're backing each other up. We got a yellow flag in sector 1. Everyone seems like they're doing fine. Luke now still on the back. And whilst these two are battling, Rico, just 2.5 seconds behind, isn't letting them run away with it. So one little mistake or a little inkling of contact, and it'll be game over. As there's deep from Tim again. We've seen drivers going deep a lot today. This time, Luke's going to try go around the outside. That's really impressive from Luke. Shades of Max Verstappen at Brazil 2016. But here comes Tim again. He's not going to go for it yet again. Round the outside goes Tim. This time Luke holds it in. The driver's still side by side into turn number 2. Luke manages to plank the power. Awesome driving between these two as Tim is somehow holding on to P3. And I have to say, these two putting up an incredible battle, but equally giving each other the respect they deserve. And wow, how many more laps of entertainment can these two give us? Hopefully another 16, which should take us to the end of the race. Luke still looking for a move, even into this fast right-hander. He's really got to be quite unorthodox with his overtaking. Now you can see Tim, big slide on the exit there. Yeah, Luke's got to be quite unorthodox as Tim seemingly has him covered. So Luke, just get on the inside curve there. You don't want to be doing that. So yeah, as I mentioned, whilst these two are battling, Rico now close to just 2 seconds behind. This could very quickly become a two-way battle. A three-way battle, sorry, for P3. Just a little look back to the standings. Alfa Romeo, 218 points. Mercedes in second on 114. So Alfa Romeo have double the points of the next constructor behind, which is simply incredible. Here comes Luke there. Looks like it was fairly pedestrian through the final corner. And for the first time in 3 laps, we're going to go single file into turn number 1. As Luke may be just backing off, trying to cool his rear tyres, as it is very easy to overheat. But anyway, yeah, as I said, so Alfa Romeo would double the points of Mercedes in 1 and 2. Then P3 is actually Haas, just 7 points behind Mercedes. So yeah, Tim doing a good job for Mercedes at the moment, but looks like Haas are going to pick up quite a few more points on the German manufacturer, so that could be an interesting battle to keep an eye on. Also Racing Point just a further 4 points behind. I don't have a driver racing from them today, but if luck goes their way in the final 5 rounds, they could come in the mix. Then we got the midfield battle of Williams on 57, McLaren in 6 on 54. Those are very closely matched, and if Rico stays P5, he should be taking McLaren ahead up into P5 in the standings. Then it's Renault, Luke flying the flag high for them on 29 points in 7th. They'll do well to claw back McLaren's lead, and I'd be surprised if they can get anywhere around there this season, but maybe next season the season 3 champions can bring back something. Luke again right up behind Tim's gearbox through the final corner. Tim again struggling on the power compared to Luke. Interesting camera angle for Luke as he's getting forced to the inside now. Back underneath his car, and I think, yeah, everything normal into turn number 1. Tim is simply doing a stellar job of staying ahead of Luke. It looks like Luke's car is in a better condition. We did previously discuss his wet setup must be helping him. Lagging around a bit there, thanks Tim. Luke, sorry. And yeah, Luke flying the flag high for Renault. However, he's got to do a lot of flying. Just 2 points behind Renault. 27 points is Red Bull. Red Bull currently P7 and P10. Got a lot of consistent finishes, Red Bull, but they need to start going a little bit higher up to score more points. And it's Ferrari on 20, just 7 points behind Red Bull. Karen currently P6 for Ferrari, that's a good result. However, they again just need more consistent finishes. It's Toro Rosso on 7. Toro Rosso have really struggled this season. There's not really much you can say. And I'd be surprised if they manage to get off the bottom step. Anyway. Also, a big thank you to the F1 Life, a sponsor GPRL. You can find out everything GPRL on their website, www.thef1life.com/GPRL. Go into the standings, you can go into the rules, you can go into the penalty points. As there goes Luke off into the pits. And as he does that, I do notice the rain has stopped, so this is a very early call as he serves a 5-second stop and go. A very early call for medium tyres. Looking at the car of Karim, there's so much spray coming off those tyres. So I'd be honestly perplexed if this works. But if it does work, it's an absolute master strategy from the Renault. We're going to stay on board with him for this lap as he comes out just ahead of Marine. Marine's going to see him on the medium tyres, think, what are you doing, son? And pass him. Easily done. So Luke, not entirely sure what he was thinking with this one, because it seems way too early. You see his car understeering like a dog through the first sector. There's Yannick. Swoops around the outside of him. Yellow flag in sector 1. Toyn is off again. Yeah, we're going to keep on board with Luke. I'm sure he'll be hoping that these track conditions and his tyres warm up as soon as possible. However, I don't think it's coming in the next 3 or 4 laps. So he might have just shot himself in the foot here, Luke. However, when it does dry up, he'll be right there, right on it. However, if this wet period, if the intermediates stay the better tyre, for 2 or 3 more laps, the drivers will be pitting for soft tyres. And then Luke will also be at a tyre disadvantage. So, interesting strategy from Luke. And the boffins at the Renault HQ. What is important there is that he's kept the car on the track. That's all you can really ask of him in this situation. He goes very deep across that final chicane. We'll have a quick look at his lap time there. That lap time was a 2-minute 21.0, so obviously factoring he had a pit stop, but that's still quite a slow lap and nowhere near where his times need to be. A little bit further up, Yannick now. It's actually close to Marine, so not sure if Marine has made a mistake on his fresh tyres. Unless the gap's always been this and I just haven't noticed it. But you can see on the track conditions it's definitely nowhere near medium or slick tyre yet. And I think, yeah, I don't think Luke's done himself a favour at all with that strategy. Because he's dropping like a stone at the moment. It won't be dried for another 2 or 3 more laps, so yeah, I don't think got much to say for Luke. Here comes Tim though into the pits. Medium tyres for the Mercedes crew. So does Rico. In comes Rico now. I assume he'll be going on to the medium tyres as well. Yes, he will. So is it now time? Stop and go penalty for Rico. 5 seconds. Medium tyres. So we now have 3 cars on the medium tyre. Here's Tim out the pits. Karim going to swoop round the outside into P3. So we're back in this situation. Toyn now pits for medium tyres. I'd say the track, I don't think it's definitely a lot closer. 5-second penalty. Here's Rico coming out the pits by Yannick. Yannick going around the outside. Drivers on medium tyres now have to do a good job of holding it in there for 1 or 2 laps, I'd say, before it does become fully dry, because it's definitely not fully dry at the moment. See, on board with Rico, he's already dropped about a second to Yannick ahead. So definitely not time to pit if you're one of the leaders, and if you're in... Karim is actually sat in a very good position at the moment on the intermediate tyres, pulling away from Tim behind, who's yet to, who has made a stop onto the medium tyres. So Karim's just got to try and wreak as much out of this as he can, and I imagine he'd be set to go on the softs at the end at this rate, because it's definitely not time to pit yet. Karim continues. Most drivers will continue, I imagine. So it is, however, starting to look a little bit more dry. However, through the final chicane, Tim dropped a second to Karim. So I really don't think it's time yet. You can see Moran he closed about 2.5 seconds that lap up to Tim. So really, they've all gone way too early, and have effectively ruined their races. As dry as it does look, it's not happening, unfortunately. There's Moran having a little cheeky look around the outside of one of the S's. Not gonna happen there, son. Gotta be a bit patient here. Plants the throttle. You see Moran cautious there, but Tim not putting up too much of a fight. He's smart, Tim. But Moran, yellow flag in sector 1. Yannick's out the session. He's gone off the second Degner on the right. He'll be kicking himself for that because he's on course for some good points. And now Zeph pits for the soft tyres. So he's clearly said, oh, it's time. Yellow flag. Here comes Felix into the pits. So I think Felix may have gambled it with it being a potential VSC. DRS now enabled. Okay, so Felix may have timed this perfectly. However, with the gap he had to Marcos, soft tyres on, I don't think he'll be closing up too much, especially if he sat there. Here goes Karim into the pits. Smart move for soft tyres on by the Ferrari crew. In and out before Moran, so all good. So Tim will be promoted up into P3. Soft tyres for Moran. Rico comes out P4 ahead of Karim, who's ahead of Moran. Where does this put Luke? Put behind Moran in P7. There's Mike finally pitting. So yeah, not the ideal strategy for Luke. He went from 4th to 7th during those pit stops. So you make of that what you will. But Karim now. As yeah, here's Marcos staying out. Into the pits he goes. He's got 40 seconds, so no need to push it into the pits. Marcos really drove a stellar race today, and he's under no threat whatsoever from Felix. But Karim on softer tyres than Rico ahead. Also 2 lap fresher. If Karim can get his foot down, he could... Well, I've just seen the gap between Rico and Tim. I don't think he'll be able to get a podium. But P4 is definitely on the cards today for Karim, if he's careful on his tyres. Because the last thing that he wants to do now is overheat them, because that is very possible on the soft tyres. In other news, Marcos has made a stop, come out, lost about 5 seconds to Felix, but no stress, still about a 15-second gap. See the driver still adjusting to the slick tyres now, much faster, much more grip. As we're into the final third of this race, Marcos leads Felix, leads Tim, as that's the fastest lap of the race from Luke. He finally seems to have found his confidence. Karim looking to close up to Rico ahead. If he does, I'm sure he'll be very impressed with his what was his fast lap of the race. 37.2 in the Haas. That's going to be an extra point for the Haas team. In their fight against Mercedes, I'm sure they'll take it. Karim seems to have found his groove on the soft tyres. He's taken half a second so far this lap out of Rico ahead. He's really starting to push. And also, impressively, isn't losing time, or too much time at all, to Marine behind. So, Mike now out of the session. Could give Zeph an extra place. Karim struggling into the final corner. To the chicane under braking. Doesn't seem the most confident. Fast lap of the race, a 35.4 from Marine. That's a very impressive lap time. But that's about 2 seconds quicker than Zeph's last lap time. So that is something. Oh, Toyn's out of the session. I'm not sure where he's crashed. We'll ride on board with Mike. Has he gone off? He has gone off. At 130R, he's gone off on the right. Meanwhile, Rico's gone off. Rico off at one of the S's. What was such a good race for the McLaren driver has gone to shambles. He's going to have to crawl around this lap with a broken front wing. He's off into the gravel. Well, he was off into the gravel. That's handed Karim P4. But Marine is flying on these tyres. He's closed about 2 seconds to Karim in the last lap and a half or so. 33.5 from Marcos. As per usual, he's flying. We'll get some faster slaps up. See Marcos. Marcos half a second quicker than Felix that time around. Very impressive stuff. You can see the track evolving though, everyone that comes through. Well, most of them setting a fast lap of the race. There goes Tim. 33.4. About a tenth quicker also than Marcos. Right, and all over the place on the power. They go down the hill. 32.9 from Marine. True because it rhymes. Rico pits. That's going to put Luke up into P6. Just 9 finishes in this Grand Prix. That's the lowest in a while. So Japan really biting with the wet conditions. Marcos does a 30.7. That's a very fast lap, and Marcos is flying. Meanwhile, Marine is also flying. He went through Spoon. Such a satisfying track to ride on board with a driver. He's closed the gap to Karim to just under 2 seconds. Marine just looks like he's got infinite amount of grips now. She's going to stay on board with Marine for this whole lap. Turn 1, turn 2. All about carrying momentum this section into the S's. 3, 4, keeps going 5 and 6 down the hill. Hook the inside line. Open up 7. No inside curve, that'll spin you around. Bit of a twitch there from Marine. Up into turn 8 now. It's just a short shift down. Or not even for Marine, he doesn't shift down. Turn 9 now. Get the car turned in on the power as quick as possible. 10 isn't really a corner. 11, open up the track as much as you can. Get the car turned in, back on the power. Get a clean exit as possible. 12, isn't really a corner, just a long right hand bend as the driver set up for spoon. 13, first part of spoon, throw it in, hit the apex, nice and wide for 14. Again, hit the apex and back on the power as smooth as possible. Right, a bit of a twitch there. Now in the slipstream of Karim as we run down this back straight into turn 15. 130R, very famous corner, one of the most famous corners on the F1 calendar. Into 16, Ryan having a look. 16 over the bump, 17. Use a bit of inside curve, and 18, you run to the line. And thank you, Moran, for taking us a lap through. He's not got DRS on Karim whilst that was going on. And Zeph has made it past Mike, who's no longer in the session. But yeah, awesome track to drive. You can't complain. And really is quite a privilege to drive. And Ryan really is driving awesome at the moment. Oh, I've nearly put the commentator's curse on. I'm not going to say anything else as Rico sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix of 30.5. Awesome save there, I have to say, from Marine, as the car went very wayward on the exit. But yeah, that's another instance of commentator's curse. Just 2 laps to go in this race after this one. Right, you can see Ryan really throwing the car in. He really wants this P4 from Karim. Karim doing a really good job to hold on. Does Moran have enough left? DRS again for the Alfa Romeo. So we go down the main straight into turn number 1. Positions stay as they are. Just need to get a little bit closer through the final corner to have a run. However, he's very close to the minute. Not really a place to make a move though. This time keeps the car pointing in a straight line. As the rear of Moran does look a bit wavy. So he's doing a very good job to control it, but I'm not sure the rear tyres would agree with it massively. Marcos a 33.3, which is a 30.3, sorry, which is ridiculously fast. We're approaching the end of this penultimate lap. Marine is close. A little fake to the inside there. He looks much more confident on the brakes than the Ferrari ahead. Can he get a good exit? If he can, you'd imagine he'd be able to take the position as he now has DRS enabled. So he blasts down the main straight, speeds up to 210 miles an hour. Karim goes to the inside, round the outside goes Marine. That'll be a very impressive move, but he can't quite make it work as Karim takes the inside line. Marine understeers off the racing line. And Karim putting up a good defence so far. The season 3 and 4 champion, the most decorated driver in GPRL history, wink wink, cannot get past. We will try and keep an eye on this battle. However, Marcos today, he got pole, he's got the fast lap, he's led every lap of the race. He couldn't have drove a better race. Incredible drive today from Marcos. He's going to take the checkered flag. He's going to win the Japanese Grand Prix and put a statement down. And no, he's not. He's going to start his oh dear, it's been a long day. So here comes Marine. Marcos just starting his final lap now. Round the outside. It's going to be round the outside at 130. I can't quite make it work. Karim still holding on. Moran's got to be careful and got to not get frustrated in the cockpit. For a second lap in a row now, he's going to have DRS. But it looked like Karim got a good enough exit. Will Moran be close enough now to have a go into turn number 1? He's closing all the time. But he's not close enough to have a go. His opportunities are closing in terms of actual overtaking spots on the track. As we said earlier, Moran now might have to get a little bit unorthodox with his overtaking. See Moran really pushing now. Anyway, second time lucky. Marcos, he's led every lap today. Pole, fastest lap. And now he can cross the line as a winner. Marcos crosses line to win round 13 of GPRL Season 5. Second time lucky, I got it right. And I'm sure he'll be absolutely beaming from A to A about that win. There's Karim making a mistake off the exit of Spoon. That's going to give Moran a perfect exit, and they're going to be side by side, wheel to wheel now on the final lap into 130R. Moran has the inside line, round the outside goes Karim. Incredible piece of defensive driving from himself. Moran fakes to the inside, scares Karim somewhat off the track. It looks like Karim has got it covered though. Moran looking for a route around the outside to the inside now. Karim holds the 4th position. Moran eventually gets it after penalties, but what a battle between those two, keeping us going right to the flag. Luke finishes P6, and I need to lie down. Further ahead it was Felix P2, and Tim got his first podium in GPRL, I believe. I will check that now. Oh, I need to lie down. Tim claiming his second podium of GPRL career. And, Marcos back on top. Peak performance from himself. So he claims his 12th career win. That is a GPRL record. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. Felix gets another podium to add to his tally. As this is Felix's 10th podium of the season, which is very impressive. He is the leader in terms of that one, but Marcos takes the win, which is his 5th of this season, and I believe that in itself, he's matched his season 4 record, and if he gets one more this season, well, yeah, if he gets one more this season, that will be all-time GPRL record. So Marcos smashing barriers left, right and centre, but what a race that was today. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and I'm going to go and have a lie down. And yes, Marcos closes the championship gap to Felix with a perfect 17 score today. If you did enjoy today, and realistically if you didn't enjoy the stream, what's going on, make sure you join us next week at 5:30 PM GMT for round 14 of GPRL Season 5. We'll catch you next week. Goodbye.